I, 39F, ended my one-year relationship with 42M over a Facebook post. Did I overreact? Too long did not read. I, 39F, ended my nearly year-long relationship with my 42M boyfriend because he didn't like that an old male coworker comment on a Facebook picture of us on vacation. This is my first post, so I do not know if I am doing this right. So, this summer my boyfriend took me to the Bahamas to celebrate my last birthday in my 30s. When he told me he wanted to plan this trip, I cried like a baby. I have never been more grateful for a gift in my whole life. He despises going out to dinner, bars, clubs, etc. He really prefers to be home and just make dinner. We have taken turns doing so and it's usually very nice. But once in a while it is nice to go out and do something. We dated for nearly a year and we went out to dinner 3 times. We went shopping once and he really hated it even though it was for things he needed. I get anxiety since I suffer from it as well, but IDK sometimes you do things for the person you love. He is not a person who gets excited about things. I am loud and have been described as a lot on many occasions. So the weeks, days up to the trip he really didn't get hyped about it the way I was. Maybe I am sensitive, but it took the wind out of my sails that he was not excited to go away with me for a special occasion. So I had planned the whole thing on my own and he paid for it. I kept asking him for his information to set up the rental car and he said we can just do it at the counter when we get there. I couldn't book the car without DL info, so I just put mine. When we got to the counter, they asked for the DL. He gave his and they informed him that he wasn't on the reservation and was unable to drive the car unless we added him. This began fight number 1. I said I would add him and even pay for the addition. He kept saying no, leave it alone, but kept complaining that is weird, he couldn't drive a car he paid for. It was an uncomfortable ride to the hotel to say the least. He yelled to slow down so many times, but I was doing under the speed limit since I didn't know where I was going. We got to the hotel and they upgraded us for free, and this seems to have wiped away the rental stuff. We got into the room, changed, and went right to the pool. I had a mojito and floating around just living my best life. I was so excited and happy. When I ordered another drink he said, "Don't you think one is enough for now?" It was not all inclusive, but I used my CC for the tab, so I said, "It's okay, I got the tab order, what you want too, I've got it." He said he was more concerned about my behavior if I had too much to drink. I don't really get too wild, also it's 2 drinks. The next day he promised we would go to the fancier restaurant on the resort and get all dressed fancy. He hates doing this, so I know he was doing this just for me. I was super excited. We got all dressed up and took some really nice photos and posted them on FB, IG. He does not have IG, but I have them linked so it shares to both. This was the first photo we posted because he always asked me not to. So an old coworker commented on the picture, putting as the comment, "This person is notoriously a wise ass," so I just comment, "You have a question?" To which he responded, "Nope, you guys look nice." Well, that was the beginning of the end. He barely spoke to me the rest of the trip. I asked him 100 times what was wrong, he wouldn't tell me. My actual birthday came and went when we were there. He still barely spoke to me. We came home, got back to my place, he grabbed some things and said, "I will text you when I get home." I kissed him goodbye, he said, "I love you," and he left. I thought he was just tired. A little later I received a novel about how I was making a fool of him on the internet, since this old coworker and I were obviously sleeping with one another, and he's surprised to see you have boyfriend. I was shocked this was just out of nowhere. This Facebook comment was days ago. Now it's a fight? I asked you 100 times to tell me what was wrong. He said he didn't want to ruin the trip or my birthday, but he did because it was like I was there alone, since he basically ignored me the rest of the trip. He gave me an ultimatum to either call the old coworker on 3-way and confront him over this comment or we are done. I told him I was not going to do that. This is being blown way out of proportion. He told me to delete the picture, to take off the relationship status, delete everything having to do with him. I kept saying, "Why are you doing this? It's Facebook, you are in your 40s, let's grow up." He kept yelling, "Call him or I am done with you." I said I cannot do that. I felt like I was being manipulated. This felt borderline abusive. Is that dramatic? He said we are done and to send him his stuff. We have not talked since. Would you have confronted the old coworker? This does not seem like a fair or normal request. He was so angry. He kept saying I was cheating and now it's so obvious. Over a Facebook comment? Is this normal? I deleted all our pictures and the status. He continued to say, "See, you can throw all proof of me away, but you can't confront this dude who means nothing to you." I am just so confused and I don't know if I just ruined everything. Maybe I should have called the old coworker and saved my relationship, but then what happens in the future? I felt like this was the beginning of some crappy habits. Do you agree? Edit. I forgot a few things. 1. I brought up the fact he had Facebook and not IG. He said I was being shady since I was more active on IG and it was because I could hide stuff from him. 2. You know when you're floating around the pool and you're float around together? Like wrap your legs around them, your arms around their shoulder? You just float around and be cute. Well, I tried to do that and he said I was being immature and embarrassing him. That the drinks went right to my head. 3. He held the keys to my app hostage until I gave him his stuff back. Underwear, socks, toothbrush, etc. So I changed the locks instead. I gave him time to get his things, texted him to say pick up by this day or it's out. I ended up trashing it after a month. Thanks everyone for their advice. I think I just needed a reminder that this stuff is not normal. This is the start of an abusive relationship. He went through a lot of things in his life, but I am not interested in paying for other people's mistakes. I was good to him, it's too bad. You made the right decision. He'll make every sunny day cloudy and it seems like you're joyful. Stick to your guns because soon he'll tell you what to wear and who you can or cannot go out with. No, I would be done with this dude. I don't know if he's missed the modern world in the last decade or what, but if nothing else you two are not compatible. He did you a huge favor. Why are you with someone like this? Do you really believe this is all you deserve? The whole beautiful person that you are and everything you've gone through and worked for up until this point. To let someone's dusty-ass miserable son ruin your life experiences? We dated for nearly a year and we went out to dinner 3 times. What? This is literally just crazy op. He gave me an ultimatum to either call the old coworker on 3-way and confront him over this comment or we are done. Quote. Good, stay done and for the love of yourself and well-being please for your next partner get with someone that matches your energy and interests. You guys are north and south. But also, his actions do not align with his words. Sounds like he is a man, supposedly a grown man based on his age, yet he still has the inability to express himself at the moment in a manner that both of you can understand and therefore address for the sake of this relationship to grow. Any mature individual can see that. So no girl, it's good you cut your losses. If it took just that, and you still stayed, you will continue to give to him while you yourself are emptied. Not worth it. You picked him, you can unpick him, but since he did it for you you're home free. My husband, M55, asked me, F38, for a divorce. And changed his mind, but I'm in limbo. My husband, M55, asked me, F38, for a divorce. And changed his mind, but I'm in limbo. After an argument with my brother my husband asked me, 38F for a divorce. To clarify my husband, 55M, and my brother have a pretty great relationship. They talk every day multiple times a day. They have had little spats before but nothing that affected my husband and their argument was about my husband being codependent on me. One of our vehicles stalled on me and I told him. He said he was going to take it for a drive to check if it was a fluke or if I had done something wrong. Well, he must have told my brother the same thing. A week later and he had not taken the car for a drive. My brother asked him about it and he told me brother he was waiting for me to go with him. To which my brother asked him why would he need me to go with him. My brother then proceeded to bring up past incidents where my husband would not do something he was perfectly capable of doing without me. I heard the entire conversation and even tried to intervene when it got heated but my brother told me this was his opinion and his alone. He reminded us that my husband is open with him when he thinks he is messing up so why can't he be open with my husband? After the conversation my husband immediately asked for a divorce. He says I should have stood up for him. I told him that they do this all the time and he has never asked me to stand up for him. I believe most of his anger was because I had told him almost the same thing. I carry a lot of the responsibility in our relationship. I do the cooking, I manage the household chores, I work FT and he is always at home. I pay bills, grocery shop, and handle any business we have to take care of. I make sure kids get to practice and go to all their events. He is currently disabled, hip replacement, and is good for asking me to do more. If he needs cigarettes or ice he asks me. I schedule all doctor appointment for him and 3 kids and he always wants me at his and won't take the kids to appointments. If he's hungry or needs new shoes he asks me and if I ask him to do it himself he says he can't. Either he doesn't know how or he doesn't want to. He actually says that but will lecture me about my plate being full or berate me when I forget something. When he asked me I was in shock at first. I didn't see that coming but as he started to call his family members looking for somewhere to go it became very real. I told him I'd give him the divorce and I slept on the couch. The next day I came home to him and the kids, 16, 14, 5, in the middle of a family meeting. The kids asked if we could work it out. I felt for them as we are all they know. I agreed on the understanding that we would go to counseling. Still I continued to sleep on the couch. I couldn't get past him asking me for a divorce because of someone's opinion of him. And I honestly feel like he has been wanting that for a while. We barely have sex, 3 times in 2024, And he likes to pick apart whatever I say and always makes me feel like I am overreacting, or he walks away mid-conversation. We started counseling and I thought things were coming back together. My parents came for Christmas and I started sleeping in our bedroom again. He and my brother are back good as I knew they would be. After the parents left, I went to our bedroom to prepare for bed and he expressed that he had a problem with that. He says I should ask permission to return and he only let me sleep there because family was in town and they didn't need to know our business. He says he has to think about us sleeping together again. I don't know what to make of this. I'm confused and I thought we were making progress. Sometimes it feels like he keeps me around for what I do for him. I don't feel loved, the romance is non-existent and I don't feel secure in my relationship. I also have lost so much trust and now it feels like we will never get past this. I feel like I am not getting any younger and I want to be happy. Can we come back from this? Has anyone else experienced this kind of marriage? Update. He called me while I was at work today, asking how my day was going and acting as if nothing was wrong. I told him I still upset and think we should just move forward with divorce because let's face it, the counseling isn't working. I told I was going to my mom's for the rest of the week as I took 2 weeks off from work. I told him I'd like him to be gone by the time I get back. I plan to talk to a lawyer after the holidays. He tried to say he doesn't have to leave and that he isn't sleeping on the couch. He is on the deed for the home but not the loan. I don't know if I can make him leave without help from the courts. Since I've been home he has tried to engage me in conversation. Not about our issues of course, to the kids for ice cream and brought me one back and called all of his family to tell them how much he loves me. I'm over it at this point but it feels like we're stuck until I can force him out. Just get the divorce. Your husband is a selfish You do everything for everyone and this is how he treats you. You deserve better. You can't sacrifice yourself for everyone else. He's going to have a rude awakening when he realizes what he's lost. Find someone who appreciates you. Life is too short. Your age gap, the age of you and your husband when you had your eldest child, and that you do everything at home and work. Why are you practically begging to still be married to this man? Nothing about your situation seems appealing. Unfortunately, darling, he's weaponizing your emotions and needs. From this snapshot alone you don't appear to be loved, you're being used. How long have you been together? 1 year marriage sucks, why are you even trying to hold on to it? 2 Are you sure you are not just a beard? Your husband argues with your brother and wants to divorce you? Seems like he and your brother are the real couple and your husband was actually threatening to leave him by divorcing you. Does your brother even have a partner or is he just your husband's real wife? I'm sorry, what? Your brother called out your husband's crappy behavior. Rather than self-reflection he asked for a divorce. He then uses the children to force you to stay in the marriage and make it work. He who wants the divorce has kicked you to the couch. Honey, this man doesn't like you. He likes what you do for him. Pull up those big pants and kick him out. He doesn't want you. He wanted a divorce and changed his mind and now it's your turn. You do not need permission from anyone to sleep where you choose in your home. You are not his employee. Get a lawyer and serve the papers. My 32F mom, 55F, is not speaking to me after her accident. My mom called me in tears a couple hours ago, stating she got into a car accident. I immediately panicked, asked if she was okay, was prepared to make the 40-minute trip to see her. But she finally got out that her friend was here and would take her home. She said that the car in front of her stopped suddenly at a green light and she crashed into them. I tried to calm her down by saying it was okay, insurance would look at it, etc., but she was hysterical. She ended the call after saying she was going home. I spoke to my brother, who spoke to her friend. Apparently they were leaving the bar. My mom goes there almost every day after work, and I have asked her about her drinking in the past. This immediately made me think back to her crash a few years ago. She was also leaving a bar, and I made her go to the hospital after that one, despite the risk of them taking her alcohol levels. It was a very long night of comforting her and speaking to doctors. I was so relieved she was okay I didn't have the nerve to address it then. When she called back, I asked point blank if she had been drinking at the bar. She instantly got upset, swore she had not had any drinks, then hung up on me. She will not answer my texts or calls now. I feel bad because I could have waited a few days, but at the same time my brother and I are worried this will happen again. I just don't know how to even approach this situation. How do I get her to see she might have a problem and this is coming from a place of concern? So your mom was drinking and driving again? Maybe she was arrested. Can either of you drive over to her house and see if she's there, if she's been discharged? What about her friend? Can you contact them? The car in front of her did not suddenly stop at a green light. She was drinking and driving and rear-ended the car in front of her. Probably played the delicate old lady card. But she might be in real trouble if there are any witnesses or traffic cams. That's why she's so upset. She has a problem that she will go scorched earth rather than admit. Don't feel bad. She needs to be questioned because it's a habit of hers. I loathe drunk drivers, and I hope she gets caught. Might have a problem? Might. On 2 occasions she has caused accidents leaving the bar. This isn't a situation of might. Wait until you get the phone call someone you love was injured by ducking drunk. I have gotten that call. Shortly after that call, saying my mom was hurt, her car was totaled, because a drunk hit her, I got another call, someone I loved deeply was dead, because of a drunk. I have lost many friends to drunk drivers. Your mom hits a bar, daily, after work. There is no might, your mother has a problem and it's only a matter of time before she takes a life. Don't drink and drive people. Your mother is going to kill herself, or more likely someone else, drinking and driving. I encourage you to go to Al-Anon for family of those who have a problem with alcohol. They will get it. How do I, 30F, protect myself from my monster sister-in-law, 29F? So my sister-in-law was born with a developmental delay and has basically been handled with kid gloves her entire life. No one is allowed to criticize her or discipline her, and as you can imagine this has not been ideal for her character development. In the past 2 years or so, her behavior has become egregiously insufferable. Some highlights include destroying church property at her grandpa's funeral because her brother, my husband, 31M, told her to wait to go up to speak at the podium. She proceeded to threaten her grieving mother that she would flip over a table if her mom didn't bring her home from the funeral immediately. Having a tantrum at the airport because she couldn't find her ID. Check-in staff reasonably refused her help which led to her throwing all of her belongings all over the place. Storming off during her cousin's wedding because she was the only one there without a date and she felt bad about herself. Getting her friends kicked out of a restaurant in Mexico during a bachelorette party by having a meltdown because she thought the other girls were looking down at her. When the bride later called to fire her as a bridesmaid, her mom actually stepped in and tried to convince bride otherwise. More recently, husband and I just returned from a short trip abroad with Mill, father-in-law and Sil. 2 days before the end of the trip, she flipped out on my husband for not wanting to order room service to her suite to eat dinner with her. The next day she became even more pissed at us because we had a couple's brunch reservation that didn't include her. When we met up later with everyone for dinner it was tense and she took every conversation as an opportunity to start a fight. I.e. saying that we all make more money than her and we don't help her, that we're excluding her from our fun plans, making fun of her mom and dad, shoving her mom and brother as we're walking and telling him to go jump off a bridge etc. It was an absolutely miserable, uncomfortable experience but I just could not see a way out of it. If I talked back to her then I would be indirectly disciplining their daughter, which is not allowed and also risks her escalating her behavior to physical violence. On the other hand, we can't even remove ourselves from the situation because then she would complain that we don't want to hang out with her and get more mad and then we would be leaving her alone with her parents for them to face her ire. My in-laws hate to confront her about this stuff and just want to try to smooth things over and pretend like everything's okay. We had concert tickets after dinner too which I just sat through while terrified the whole time. I literally felt like an animal trapped in a cage and all I could do was stand by as I watched my husband and in-laws get bullied. I've already blocked and deleted her on everything but there's no real way to avoid her IRL without punishing my in-laws, because she lives with them and works at her dad's company, so they're typically a package deal. My in-laws are otherwise lovely people but they're just so worried that their daughter is going to end up alone. There's this clear expectation that her big brother should look out for her and that everyone else should be the bigger person and just forgive her transgressions, but to what end? We do try to help her out with her constant failing relationships, jobs, health, etc. but she is never grateful and clearly resents us. She has explicitly shared, many times, that she is jealous of us and has no shame in admitting it, saying things like, "I was upset at your wedding because it was so nice and I was imagining that it was my wedding with my BF." I've literally never met someone as ugly as this in my entire life and it's baffling to me. She pet sits as a side gig and is always asking to watch our cat, future child, and I know that she would hurt it to hurt us. I have seen her kick her own dog before in anger. I don't want my future immediate family to just become more punching bags for her who are required to love and accept her behavior unconditionally just because she is blood. How the fuck do I deal with this bullshit going forward? If your husband and her parents won't get her a social worker and insist on therapies to assist her development, there is nothing you can do. Just be busy when your husband's parents invite you to anything or when your husband invites them to your home. And be very clear right now with your husband that his sister will not be moving in with you when her parents are no longer able to care for her. Your husband and his parents need to be making a plan for her future now. I know it feels complicated because you're in it, but it's actually pretty simple. Stop being around her. Tell your in-laws that her behavior is a problem and you are done dealing with it. Invite them to dinner or events without her. Don't vacay with her. They have enabled this behavior but you don't have to. And if your husband wants to deal with it, send him on his own. You are under zero obligation to spend time with her. I'd stop acting like a doormat and just be yourself around her. Speak to her how you'd speak to anyone else and stop walking on eggshells. As her sil, it doesn't really matter what she thinks of you, and I'd show some integrity here. Let her throw tantrums, let her try physical violence on you. File an assault charge. Handle her tantrums how you'd handle them from a toddler. Just because your in-laws don't parent her, doesn't mean you can't treat her like an adult with responsibility to you. There will be consequences, but I'd risk them. You said in replies she has a job, graduated college, lived independently. She doesn't necessarily sound developmentally delayed. What she does sound like is a spoiled, possibly narcissistic person who could benefit from therapy. Bratty behavior is one thing, violence is another. Sounds like her family felt bad for her because she was not the best in some subjects or couldn't articulate herself well all the time and babied her. Now she's a monster. IDK if you and your husband want to have kids, but say you did. How is she going to react to a baby getting all her attention when she ruined her grandfather's funeral? I'd be terrified of that thought alone. The parents enable it, so they are just as much to blame. If I were your husband, I would put a stop to all of this and cut them off, the parents included, unless they're willing to have a relationship with you guys that never involves the sister. She sounds horrible, and it has nothing to do with her developmental delay. This is just straight up abuse towards everyone around her. In my opinion, such a drastic situation means drastic measures had to be taken. It doesn't sound like she has a developmental disorder at all. I think that's something your in-laws made up to excuse the fact that she has a lower IQ than they deem acceptable. Which? What the actual fuck? Anyway, yes. Go NC and or LC with Gray rocking.